Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 3 minutes after, and people can catch up on the recording if they need to. So I want to start out with a clarification that I know is going to put all of your minds at least at a little bit of ease, as opposed to what we talked about on Monday. At the time we talked about it, that's how we thought things were happening, and we've had a massive clarification. So, as far as visitors coming to an open house, remember on Monday, we were under the understanding that there was a whole bunch of rigmarole if it wasn't your personal listing. Okay, the clarification is as long as the listing is within your market center, you are good to go. Okay. And what that means is, because I know many of you are in market centers where the broker also is broker of record in another market center. For instance, Central Coast, Tulare County, Porter Ranch, Carlsbad, Chino Hills. Okay. Hear this. This is incredibly important. It does not matter that it's the same person that's the broker. What matters is the same broker number. All market centers have their own unique broker number. So, in other words, Central Coast, Tulare County, you are not the same brokerage, the same market center, just because you have the same broker of record. Carlsbad, Chino Hills, same thing. Any questions about that? Okay.
Yeah, that would be a little confusing to me, Jody. So just to clarify, for Oxnard, obviously we have Ventura, Oxnard, Ojai, Camarillo. Are they all under broker 835?
Yes, and thank you
Okay.
for bringing that up. That is a
Okay.
good clarification. So for yes, and like Central Coast as well, Pismo, Santa Maria, San Luis, Paso, all the same. Okay, so because those other offices are business centers within that same main market center. Okay, but Tulare County, like they encompass Visalia, Tulare, Hanford, Porterville, but not anything at Central Coast, even though it's the same broker of record. Okay. So any of your business centers are a part of your market center. As long as the brokerage number, the broker number you put on your forms, is for that business center or market center, you're good. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. If you do an open house for someone in your market center, the reason for this clarification is because all listings belong to the broker. All agents under the broker represent the broker. So if you do, so for instance, Jeff, if you do an open house for Emily, I picked you too because you're in the same market center, you're good. Okay, as if it was your own listing because it's the same broker. Okay,
Right.
but Jeff, you do a open house for Michelle. Everything we talked about Monday still applies, and I'll reiterate that shortly. Okay, so you do not have to sign a BRBC or a PSRA to let someone in. However, there is a caveat. You need to have them sign the OHNA.
Yes.
Okay. Because if they refuse or they do not, or you're just afraid to ask them, you may not, are not allowed, cannot answer any questions that a visitor has about the property. All you can do is hand them a flyer if they refuse to sign the OHNA. Now, if they sign the OHNA, then you're good. You can talk to them, you can answer questions, because the OHNA makes it clear that any conversation is in behalf of the seller. Are we all good so far? Any questions yet? Okay. If the conversation goes beyond where they're wanting help with things, then that's where you need to get at minimum a PSRA signed. Okay. And so the PSRA, you could do it for the one property and let them know, in order for me to continue to help you, you would have to sign this form. All this is tying you to is using me should you decide to move forward with this specific house. And of course, as we perfect our conversations, we should be trying to get them to sign the BRBC, right? Because then you're getting them as a client, and we'll work on those conversations as we go. But at a minimum, to have any kind of representation conversation, you must get a PSRA signed. Okay. We all good so far?
Question, Jody.
Okay, Zach?
And I'm late to the party here, but if they're not going to sign the OHNA, they're not going to sign the PSRA either.
Well, not necessarily, because once they find out you can't talk to them, then they may be more willing. It depends on their actual interest. So it's also going to help you know if that person's truly interested, right? So the thing is, the thing that does change is without signing the OHNA, no matter who the broker is or who's doing the open house, you can't answer questions about the property. It's just no longer going to be allowed. Because here's the clarification on that. As of August 17th, some of you it happened today, some of you it won't happen till the 13th, but as of August 17th, so when I say that moving forward, it is the 17th or whatever your MLS designates prior to that date. Okay, we good? I can just say August 17th from now on. Okay, so as of August 17th, an agent cannot take a potential buyer into a property, whether in person, virtually, or otherwise, without a representation agreement signed. It is not allowed any longer. So by signing the OHNA, they are recognizing that you are not representing them, but you're representing the seller, so you're allowed to talk to them about that house. By not signing the OHNA, then you can't talk to them because there's no representation there. I know this is all a little confusing. There's still some new rules, but I hope at least everyone's happy that if you're, you don't have to be the door police as long as you stay within your brokerage. Okay. But the door police still exists if it's not within your brokerage, and I'll reiterate that here shortly.
Jody, real quick, if they don't want to sign anything, are they still able to look at the house even though we don't talk to them? Because I know Monday we were saying like we would have to like turn them away.
So if you're doing a listing for your brokerage, yes, they can still look at the house if they refuse to sign. However, you cannot answer any questions, nothing. All you can do is hand them the flyer. You can, if it's on the flyer, you can say it if they ask. You cannot say anything that's not on the flyer. So if they ask you a question and it's not on the flyer, you can't answer it unless they sign. And I know that's a little confusing, and that piece is still different, and that piece is still a must, and it has to do with the representation. Most of us feel, I've been in a lot of leadership meetings this week, last week, ongoing. Most of us feel like we're all gonna get used to these changes, and then it's gonna change again at the end of the year. Because what's gonna have to happen, guys, we gotta follow the rules as we know them, as they happen. But as we put all these things into practice, then they're going to see what's working, what's not working. More information will come out from the DOJ as time goes on, and then we'll be able to get things figured out. But we have to ride the waves. Okay. We just got to ride the waves while they're happening. And then hopefully we can have some smooth sailing by the first of the year. In the meantime, don't not do open houses, guys, because this is still the number 2 way for you to get leads and build your database. So what you need to do is not do them, but get good at the conversations and become a master of the new way of doing open houses. Okay, it's not
It's a
that
continuum.
different.
In the conversation, if you make third person the responsibility, I mean, it's third person, policy is that I have to get a signature before I can tell you anything about the transaction or the property.
Well, here's what it's going to boil down to. Raise your hand where we can see it. If you were in this business during 2020 and I think into 2021, and we had to do PEDS to enter a property. Okay. So not many of you and some of you. What happened during COVID? There was a form, it was called a PED, property, I forgot what it was mentioning, but it was basically for health and safety. So the buyer had to certify that they did not have COVID, had not been around anyone with COVID in the prior 10 days. We had to certify as an agent. So that was required, and that had to be sent to the listing agent before we could even enter a property. And we worked that way for, Lori, how long did we work that way? Year and a half, 2 years? You're muted.
I don't remember exactly, but it was a while.
Yeah. So this is nothing compared to that. We don't have to show proof, right? We just have to ask the question and we have to have them sign in. So I wish more of you knew what that felt like, because this will feel like nothing. Okay. So let's see.
It's kind of, I mean, I did, and shortly after that, when they opened up the open houses, and you still had to have them sign in because they had to track to see if, if anybody did get sick within there, then you had to contact them and all that stuff. And then it evolved to just flat out saying, seller wants to know who's coming into their home, not the CDC or, health organizations or something like that. The seller wants to know who's coming in their home.
And not only that, we had to have them wear booties on their shoes, and we had to have masks, and we had to have all kinds of things. So you guys, what we have to do for open houses right now is nothing, even though it's different. It's nothing compared to what we went through during COVID. So just kind of
Also,
like that.
Jodi, we had to spray down the countertops and Windex and all that too on top of it.
Also, we couldn't allow the clients to touch things to open things. We had to do it, and then we had to spray things down behind us. So there was a lot of stuff we had to do. And if we weathered that storm, guys, we got this. This is no big deal, okay? All right. So let's get a little bit more clarification to make sure that we understand that a portion of what we said prior still exists. If you're doing an open house for a list agent who is not in your market center, okay, not your brokerage, and they refuse to sign the OHNA, you may not let them in. They may not enter. So I'm sorry. I have everything written down, so don't forget, and I mixed that up. You may not speak to them about the house at all if you don't have a BRBC or PSRA signed, because they have zero representation. Okay. So now to clarify a step further, if they have a BRBC signed with another agent, okay, because this question was brought up on Monday. If it's within the same market center, you're all good. It's business as usual. If it's an outside agent who it's signed with, okay, because the BRBCs also belong to your brokers, guys. So a signed one is good. If it's an outside agent that calls and says, hey, I have an exclusive BRBC signed and my client's going to attend your open house and I can't come with them, will you please let them in? Okay, you can let them in, but you need to ask them to send you a copy of page 5 of the BRBC, and you must have them sign the OHNA. Okay. If the visitor says they have a BRBC signed with an agent, they can come in as long as they sign the OHNA. Now, if there is nothing signed, no BRBC, no PSRA, they can't come in. And the reason is because even if they sign the OHNA and you're doing this for someone not in your brokerage, you don't represent the seller, so you can't answer questions, you can't talk to them, nothing. The only way you can answer questions is if they sign a PSRA or BRBC. And everybody understands the BRBC is the new buyer representation agreement. The PSRA is like a 1 property up to 3 property shorter agreement. Okay, so you still have to sort of be the door police if you're doing it outside of your brokerage. So I know there's some brokerages that work in other ones often because they're close enough, especially down in the LA area. So just know you can still do that if your brokers allow you, but you have to be careful because all of these new things apply because it's not the same broker number. Okay.
So Jodi, just a quick question, just for clarification. So if one of our clients are going to an open house without us,
Mhm.
advising them to sign in with the OHNA, letting them know that whoever's hosting won't probably be able to talk to them much about the house. But of course, we can follow up and they can get in
Yes.
because that's different than last time, right? So you must be with them kind of thing, which,
It's
Yeah.
still advised that you be with them.
right,
Okay, it's absolutely still advised that you be with them because they are signing the BRBC with you. You are representing them. You should be going with them to the home. So if circumstances don't allow, then yes, have your buyers let you know they want to visit so that you can reach out to that agent and communicate and you can send them the page 5 of the BRBC. Okay, but it is advised. We are advising when at all possible, you accompany your buyers to the open houses.
thank
Just
you.
like when we have to go with them to new builds, right?
Right. We
So-
just have a lot of them that it's Sunday afternoon. I saw a sign.
Yeah, and you can't control that, right?
Right.
So just make sure. But here also is the key. When we're doing our buyer consultations, we have more things to say now, more things to set expectations. And so we're going to be on the 9th. I'm actually going over to Pismo for the day, and Emily and I are going to be doing a mock buyer consultation, not a shortened version like you've had where we just hit the bullet points. We're going to do a real one so that you guys can watch what should be being said. Emily?
Going back to the open houses, whether or not you go with your clients or not, what if, because I've had those Sunday afternoon clients before and they spend a lot of time at open houses that I don't have to spend with them. What if I have them have a ready photo of page 5 of the BRBC that they take with them to open houses? Would
Mhm.
that work?
That it should, yes. I would say yes, based on everything I've heard. And that would be something when you get the BRBC signed to have them do. That's a great idea. Put this in your photos in a folder where you can easily get to it. But still, we're gonna we still advise that you let us know if there's a specific one ahead of time you want to see, so I can be there with you. But if they're doing the looky-loo, oh, turn, let's go see it. I mean, it's gonna happen. Ernie?
So on the OHNA, it asks for your representation. Like if you're, I thought that was the purpose of that. So, but you want proof of the representation from a BRBC or a copy of it. I mean, like somebody's coming into the open house, they say, I'm not with my agent, I'm represented. You have them fill out the OHNA, it's got all that information in it, then we're good, right?
Yes. So what's being recommended is that we are asking to see page 5. If like the agent is calling you and saying, I'm sending my client, okay? The reason is because did they really get one signed?
Mhm.
Right? So, at least one of our brokers representing multiple market centers is saying that if an agent calls you to say, my buyer's coming, I can't be with them, that we request to see page 5.
Yeah, but I'm
Okay,
just like random people walking in now. And they say, oh yeah, I'm represented. It's like, now you gotta put proof, put your agent down.
well, and if they say that,
Contact
they
information.
sign in and say that, we just have to go with what they say. We're not here to argue with them. We're not
Right.
here to cause trouble, to cause scenes. Just if they don't sign the OHNA, you can't talk to them about the house. And
Mhm.
so and here's what I'm gonna recommend, because a lot of your sign-in sheets have yes, no, if they have an agent or whatever, right? So if they tell you they have an agent, have them write their agent's name down.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes they don't have an agent when they tell you they do, and they're not gonna know a name to write down, right? And if they don't have an agent, have them write the word no. You need something on that line to protect yourself that you asked if they have representation, because if they tell you no, and then you get a BRBC or PSRA signed and they already have one signed, that keeps you out of trouble because you asked.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, let me make sure I don't forget anything before we go down any rabbit holes. Okay. Okay. Following up with sign-ins, okay, with your sign-ins on your sign-in sheet, this is still done as normal. However, you can't go show homes, right? Any additional homes, should be, goes without saying, without a BRBC or PSRA, okay? But we're still following up. That doesn't stop. Okay, I said that already. Okay, open house marketing. It was recommended on a call I was on yesterday. Any marketing that you do for your open house, whether it's a flyer, social media, or whatever you do, put on the bottom, like asterisks, the verbiage that is on, I think it's the end of number 5 in the OHNA. It says, if visitor is in an exclusive relationship with another agent, this is not intended as a solicitation of visitor. That should go on all of your open house marketing, just like we do for listings right now. If we send out postcards, this is not, if your home is currently listed with an agent, this is not intended as a solicitation. Same thing now. That needs to be on all open house marketing.
Say it again, it's on the bottom of page 5?
Yeah, it's on the OHNA first page, but I think it's the 5th bullet point, the very end verbiage. If visitor is in an exclusive relationship with another agent, this is not intended as a solicitation of visitor. Just take the words right off the form, okay? So another suggestion while you're doing open houses, start taking a couple PSRAs with you that have pre-printed your broker number and the property address of the open house. Because then if you've got that at the ready and you need to ask someone to sign it to continue talking to them, answering more questions, because it's starting to get into the representation area, right? Because once we start talking about information beyond what's on the flyer, now we're getting into representation and the PSRA has to be signed. So start taking those with you with the property address already on there. Just print 2 or 3 of them, whatever you feel is good. And that way they're at the ready. Okay. Now, some questions came up the other day and even a couple more throughout the day. So I'm going to touch on those. One was virtual tours. So essentially, virtual tours on social media are no more. You can't do them. Now, we are still waiting for clarification if a list agent for purposes of marketing the property can do that. We think, remember, we think, we don't have this confirmed, that it's going to be okay for the actual list agent to do it. Potentially the agent sitting the open house, that it belongs to the brokerage, and we just don't know that answer yet. One of the brokers is checking with CAR compliance on that, and we've not been updated. So right now, better safe than sorry, no virtual tours on social media until we get more clarification. Okay. So that means those of you that did the lives from open houses and whatnot, until we have clarification, don't do that. Okay. I already went if the BRBC was signed with another agent. Okay, the other question that came up, and this again is still being verified with CAR compliance, family members accompanying a potential buyer. We think it's going to be okay, but we're not 100% sure if they need to sign as well. We're still verifying that with CAR compliance. Back in the days of COVID and PEDS, everyone had to sign it. So we're just not clear on that yet. But as soon as we get clarity, we will bring that to you. Michelle, did you have a question?
Yes, on the virtual tour, if you have a client from out of state, then are we no longer allowed to show them the property?
You still can if you have a BRBC signed
Okay,
or a PSRA, yes. But you
Okay.
can't put it on social media because you don't know who's seeing it and you don't have things signed with those people. And it's just, that's a gray area right now. So don't do that until we get clarification. But if you have representation agreement signed, yes, you can do a virtual tour. Absolutely, those can continue. Okay, another question came up. I don't remember if this was on Monday or if this was later in the day. Vacation. What if you as an agent go on vacation and have a BRBC signed and you need someone else to do the showing for you? Okay, if as long as you have the BRBC signed, someone in your market center can help you with that. They can still show the property for you because the BRBC also belongs to the broker. Okay, so whatever arrangements, trade-offs, pay them to open the door, whatever you already arranged now, you can continue doing that. Just make sure they're in your same brokerage. So if you have a friend at a different brokerage that helps you, don't do that anymore. Okay. And then I think we kind of covered this, but because the question was specific, I'll cover it. Like if a visitor tries to bully their way in without signing anything, don't make a scene. Let them tour the home. However, you cannot answer any questions. Okay? Nothing. You can't answer a question about the house at all. So then when they get irritated, you can tell them, well, if you'll sign in like I asked you to, then I can. And you can just blame it on the new laws. We are literally not allowed to talk to a person without representation. Okay, but we're not going to make scenes. This I think we already know, but just to reiterate, showing homes August 17th. According to most MLSs, I've not heard a different number yet. We cannot show homes without representation agreement signed. You already know that, but please know the fine is $2,500 with no warning. So don't do it. Okay. And I think we had a conversation about this on Monday. If you know somebody is doing that, don't turn them in. Give them a courtesy phone call. Because if you ever do something that even out of ignorance, because you just didn't know and could have gotten a fine, you'd want somebody to warn you, right? Not just turn you in. So there's no warning on this one, guys. It's not like, hey, we found out you did this, do it again, you'll be fined. No, you're just fined. Okay. And plus, KW culture is we do things the right way, right? We work with integrity. So everybody's going to need to get comfortable with the conversations around how to get those signed. We are going to be bringing you those conversations. Your coaches will be role playing those for you so that you can see and hear those conversations. And then we're going to have some workshops and such where you guys can be practicing that as well. Because if you guys think that, I got this, you need to practice these conversations because they need to change from what we've been saying. Okay. Please, please do not try to not practice your conversations. We need to be the leaders in the industry. Okay. Sign calls or online leads. You must have a PSRA signed before you can go out and show them. You know how we used to say, okay, maybe give them one freebie and then, at the home, you talk to them and you get it signed? No more. We absolutely can't do that. So if the situation is such that, like, it's an online lead or a sign call, you don't know the person, you haven't built that rapport, get the PSRA signed for the property, and then that's their one freebie to not sign the BRBC yet. Does that make sense? Does that kind of put your mind at ease, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, and then, like we were talking about, use it as a trial. I mean, it's, hey, it's 3 properties of this one property. You can see how I work, and if you like me, then we'll go ahead and lock in a BRBC to find something else.
Yeah. Now, that does not change the fact that you should still be asking all of your buyers the qualifying questions, having a true professional buyer consultation, and getting a BRBC signed. These should be used not because you're afraid to do that, because we're professionals and we need to do that. These should be used because it's a quick one-time online lead. You got to catch them now or you're going to lose them, right? So this should take the place of the one freebie, right?
Yep.
Not as a general way you do your business. Do not do trial periods for every single person you talk to because you don't want to learn how to get BRBC signed. Okay, guys? Be professionals. You are all professionals. Act like it. But there are circumstances like the online leads. Okay. I also, let's see. I want to make a little clarification. You have always heard us say on any of your documents where you're charging your fee, and then some people will add in an additional fee for a TC or whatever your transaction or compliance fee is at your market center. First of all, my stance doesn't change. That is our cost of doing business. And I don't think most of your brokers don't think that that should be passed on to your clients. We get paid well. And if we are providing value, and if we are saying and doing the things we're charging for the value we say we have, that's our cost of doing business. Okay. Now, that said, you can pass that fee on. And we've always said, and this is true, what you do for one, you must do for all. But here's one clarification I will make. If you just learned you could do that and didn't know you could, so you hadn't been doing it, you can do it, start doing it, so long as you always do it moving forward. If you just heard that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be charging that because I'm asking to get paid full value as an agent, so that's my cost of doing business, I shouldn't pass that on, but you have been passing that on and you want to stop, that's okay, so long as you're not doing it again moving forward. Okay, so it's a pattern of what you can't do is flip back and forth or choose to charge this one and not this one, and then this one and not this one, because that violates fair housing. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, but it's not negotiated for each individual client. I mean, there's been talks about you put it on there, and then if they're balking about your percentage or whatever you're charging, then that's something you can take off. You say, okay, well, I'll just take this off. You okay with that?
If it is your standard of practice,
Mm.
you have a written standard of practice, then that would be okay. What's not okay is if the DRE were to come and check your records and they saw that for all the clients that were pre-approved and $1 million or over and had money and funds and proof of funds and all that, and you're charging them, but then ones over here that can't do that, or that they don't seem like they can, and you're not doing it, you appearances matter. That's where fair housing comes in. So basically, it needs to be a standard of practice. That makes sense. Doesn't mean your standard can't change, as long as when the change is made, it continues moving forward.
Right.
Okay, so we just wanted to clarify that, because in the past we had said, based on information, we had said if you hadn't been doing it, don't start, and if you have been, don't stop. But you can, as long as the standard of practice change has that track record. Okay. Seller credits and concessions, we've been having, with the lender, we've been having questions about that. Gov Hutchinson on Tuesday did confirm that Fannie and Freddie, so all the government backed loans, have already stated that the seller credit for any buyer side compensation will not count against their lender credits. So whatever the 3.5, whatever percentage the loan program allowed for seller credits is not affected. You can still have that and compensation to the buyer's agent, okay? It also will not count against your buyer's LTV, loan to value, for qualifying. And VA has now said that they will allow the buyer to pay their buyer's agent's fees. Okay, so that is, there's still, as far as conventional loans and things, it will probably be the same, and still, case by case, you need to check and confirm with the lenders. But Fannie and Freddie have already said that came right from Gov Hutchinson. So, we know that is true in this moment anyway.
Jodi, can you I'm being, as far as seller credits and loans and stuff like that, can you elaborate on that just a little bit more? So that's on the loan itself, they can include that in the loan, or how is it, or is it not? What are you saying?
So buyers have always been able to ask for closing costs, right? Or maybe if they never asked for closing costs in the initial purchase agreement and repairs came up, rather than do the repairs, the seller will credit the cost for the repairs, but we have to word it such on an addendum that it's a seller to credit X dollars for buyer's prepaids and or closing costs, right? Because we can't credit for repairs technically. So those are the types of credits we're talking about. You can still have that credit up to the maximum amount of whatever the loan program allows, and ask for buyer compensation on top of that.
Got it.
Whether or not buyer compensation can be wrapped into the loan, that I don't know. That you need to check with lenders. And that some programs might even allow for it and some might not. We just don't know. Okay. Keep in mind, Gov made a good point when it comes to like the conversations that we have with our sellers and such around compensation. Sellers don't pay the buyer's agent out of their pocket, right? They pay from the proceeds of their sale. So we just need to get really good at our conversations with helping them understand that they need to look at offers that are asking for buyer compensation. And really it's about their bottom line is what matters, just like it always has been. Now there's just one more thing to factor in. But we really want to have the conversation such that we're not having the sellers feel like I'm not going to pay for that because I don't have to, right? We need to explain to them why they should be considering paying for that. Okay. Side point on the RLA, don't ever have an RLA that you don't fill out the line underneath compensation. I think it's 2 lines down that says, or maybe it's the next one, make sure and check the box and put a percentage in that you will receive if the seller chooses to work with an unrepresented buyer. Okay. Recommendation is our fees are typically 2 to 3%, and we should never charge less than 2. Your market centers don't want that. Your brokers have certain things you can't charge below, and that is okay for them to do, because they have, you know, bills to pay too, right? So there is a standard of practice there. So make sure that you are getting your value. Don't put something lower there thinking that, oh, well, because I'm going to represent both of them. It's easy. I'm already doing it. So I'm just going to get a little bit more and I'll be happy. Because guess what, guys? If you're going to work with an unrepresented buyer while you're not legally responsible for them, you still have to be there to open the door for the inspections. You still have to help get the inspections facilitated, for the appraiser, for all of the things that the buyer's agent would normally do. You have to make sure they're being done because you're representing your seller as a fiduciary.
Yeah, and
So
you're gonna end
that's
up
why
doing all the other stuff too. Cause I mean, they're not gonna be knowing what to do, and if you want the transaction to go through, you're gonna have to be holding
Yep.
their hands with all the other crap as well.
So even though you're not legally responsible, your work doubled. So make sure that you're paid for that. Okay. One of the things that Gov Hutchinson said is buyers need well-paid agents now more than ever.
Mhm.
So don't think that just because all these changes are happening, oh yeah, a buyer can go directly to the list agent, and buyers need well-paid representation now more than ever. So that came right from Gov Hutchinson. And so then that's where, in talking with brokers, it's recommended that never take less than 2%, you're being underpaid. And taking more than 3%, you're being overpaid, is recommendations. Again, we can't tell you what to charge because that's negotiable. But there's, you know, you have value. Make sure you're not devaluing yourself. Okay.
Jodi,
the
I just have to say real quick,
Uh-huh.
don't go under 2 and don't go above 3, but we're not going to tell you what to charge.
No, I didn't say don't. I said recommendations are.
Right.
I can't tell you what to do.
That was good.
But I also know there's questions, right? There's questions about what we should be charging here and there and everywhere now with the changes. So we have to be careful. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll open it up to whatever, because I know that I've been talking way too much, but and we don't normally like to do things this way, but this is necessary for today. Know that BCA, the Buyer Compensation Advisory, inside and out, upside down and all around. If you haven't read it, I want you to read it 5 times. Know what it says. Highlight the main points on a document that you want to make sure you're talking to your buyers and your sellers about. And we'll be having workshops and things around this to help you, but know what that says inside and out. That advisory is going to help you have conversations and help your clients understand why they should be paying you. Okay, that's all the updates. That's all the clarifications that I have for now. So what questions, thoughts, comments do you have, or anything else you want to mastermind around for the next few minutes? Or your brain's about to explode.
I was just going to chime in, and I attended the same video session with Governor Hutchinson on Tuesday, and he's doing it again tomorrow if anyone else wants to see what he has to, talk about with the new forms. It was really helpful.
Yeah.
And I did want to just mention really quick, I think you had said, so if we're hosting an open house outside of our brokerage, someone comes in that is represented, they need to sign the OHNA and then ask for their agent's name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the
Yes.
form asks for it.
Yeah, but they need to write it down. Sometimes, a
Yeah,
lot of
they
times
need to
people
fill it
want to
out.
Just make sure that it's all filled out completely.
yes, a lot of times people just want to put their name down or Mickey Mouse or whatever. They need to make sure that they sign in.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are we treating the OHNA just as a sign-in, or do we have to actually explain the parts on the top that are actually describing to them what they're signing into?
So this should replace any sign-in sheets you have been using. You should be using this one for the foreseeable future for protection, okay? Also know those 5 points, know them clearly so you can basically say what it says, right? They can read it if they want to. Nobody reads what they sign, so make sure they understand that they have to sign in, and you can't answer any of their questions if they don't. And that this does not mean that you're representing them. So make sure
Right,
you
okay.
know those 5 points and how to articulate them quickly for them to be able to sign in.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? I will say, if you've never heard Gov speak, usually he comes once a year around to everyone and he does a legal update, and usually legal updates are boring as all get out. He makes them fun. He makes them not boring. He's my favorite person from CAR to listen to. And he's just very down to earth, and this is the way it is, guys. And I love that about him. So if you are able to listen tomorrow, please do. He goes over everything the brokers and I've and your other coaches have been going over with you. But you can't right now. I don't think any of us can hear this stuff too much.
No.
Quick
'Cause it's
question.
not-
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say, if we're doing an open house this weekend, then we would just go ahead and jump into this right now, right?
I would. The new I don't know what your MLS is doing. Most of California, I think it's the 13th or the 17th, but I don't know yours specifically. But I would. I'd start using this immediately. Just get into the habit. Just use this as your normal sign-in sheet.
Okay.
The thing is, until the 17th, you just don't have to not allow people. You can still talk to them.
Okay. Okay. And
Okay.
let people in. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got, I mean, if you're working, if you meet somebody and you're working with them up to the 17th, you don't want to backtrack and say, here, I needed you to sign this. So go ahead and start now. And
Yeah.
grandpa then, yeah.
Exactly. Don't
Yeah.
wait to get BRBC signed, or sign one now the way you've been doing it and then change it again. Just start now. It is being recommended we start using all the forms now, because otherwise in a few days you got to go back with modifications and new conversations, and the people you're working with don't want to deal with that either.
Yeah, yeah. So this Gov Hutchinson, he's with the CAR.
He is the main attorney for CAR. He is the
Okay.
top dog.
So if I go there, that's the link or what? I mean, how do I
Yeah, go
find?
to car.org, and then there should be a list of times for the update, and just choose the one that has Gov. Because there's other people doing it too.
Mhm.
Tuesday was his first one. I think tomorrow's the second one. It might be his last one, because I saw a list of a whole bunch of other names.
Yeah, he does a good job of explaining just the way he articulates everything.
Yeah, he puts everything in very simple terms. Very simple terms.
I like simple.
Especially with all the changes.
Yeah, my head is swimming. Where can I find the BCA, Jody? You
The
said to read 5 times.
BRBC? Oh, the
BCA,
BCA.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. All the acronyms.
It's in the
Okay.
zip forms, the card
Okay.
forms. Yeah, all the new forms are in there. Also, all the new forms are in the PC toolkit. They're filled out as samples. The ones that need samples. So, but they're in there, the main ones. And we've done videos for how to fill them out, but they're still being edited. We had to prioritize a couple more things. So videos will be out for how to fill them out soon as well. But we're still here to help with anything you need in the meantime.
So,
All
I
right.
mean, basically, bottom line though is, I mean, we can't do business unless you're represented by somebody. I can't talk to you unless you're represented with somebody or if I represent you, one or the other.
That's right.
Keep it simple.
All right, guys. Hopefully the clarifications made you feel better and the additional information as well. So next week we'll get back to normal masterminding unless something big changes that we have to bring to you. So please come prepared to mastermind around something. If there's something you want help with certain conversations, with anything, please let me know so we can plan to do it. It is okay for you. I always have something to talk about, but I would prefer we mastermind around what you guys need. So please don't be shy about that when you come. Okay. All right, guys. I'll give you 7 minutes back in your day because I know all our heads are spinning and they'll be spinning for a while. So
Really quick, Jodi, really quick,
Okay.
Jodi. If you guys have questions on this, in addition to Mastermind, come to Ask a Coach. That's what we're there for.
Yep. Yep. And those of you in one of the 4 Meggers Group Market Centers, please attend contracts class at 1 o'clock. Okay. I believe it's Troy going over the contracts. The rest of you, your market centers are having contracts classes left and right too. Please get to them. You cannot go to enough right now. Okay. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. And boot camp starts next week. Is everybody signed up?
Mhm.
All right. If you're not signed up, use the link in the email that was sent. We'll send another one for a reminder tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing all of your results. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.